What is feedback? Just a form of, I don't know, constructive criticism towards, well, any sort of work really, or anything that you aspire for, like advice from someone else, or like an emotive response from somebody else, I guess.
What about what's academic feedback?
Well, feedback just for academia, so yeah, like just feedback for academic work.
Okay. And what types of feedback did you receive when you did your course?
Mainly written feedback, occasionally verbal feedback from...
Just do it again without the scratch.
Oh, sorry.
You could hear it.
I think you are too much.
Shall I be here? It's too far. I don't have to.
Don't worry, it's just too late
Oh, if you just
to turn the face.
Okay.
Anyway, let's just do it again. So, what do you think feedback is?
Feedback is just, it's a form of constructive criticism towards any kind of work, be it academic or, artistic, creative.
Okay. So the second question was, when you did your course, what types of feedback did you receive?
Mainly written feedback, but occasionally verbal feedback from tutors. If, like, for example, I got an essay and I wasn't happy with maybe the written feedback, then you could go to a tutor and ask for, development upon the written feedback.
Who else could you get feedback from?
I don't know. I guess peers and other tutors. If you ask them to read through your work, proofreading, for example, and things like that is a form of feedback, I guess, on what you've done.
Which feedback do you think is more valuable or valid?
Well, probably the feedback that you can receive before, like, the handing of the work, I guess. Like, for example, in the third year when you're doing your dissertation, you get a lot of feedback during the kind of tutorial meetings and things like that. So I guess that's more valuable in the long run because it can help you improve on the kind of work at the time.
Okay. So when you got your feedback, so you're saying that the feedback that you received before you actually submit the final piece of work is more valid and valuable?
I don't know, maybe not as valuable in regards kind of, like, if you get a good mark and then you get good feedback, it's nice to read, like, in regards, just, I don't know, it makes you feel good about the piece of work, so it's valuable in that way. But the feedback before you hand in the work on a chapter you may have written for a piece of work or something along them lines is ultimately more valuable, I guess, because it helps shape the overall piece of work, which is more important than, your kind of just feeling about the work after the handing, I guess.
And what about the feedback that you get after your assignment, after you've submitted it, so the final feedback? How did you use it to improve your future work?
Probably not as well as I should have done. I don't know. Towards the end of university, I guess I took it more seriously. Like, I actually took, the advice given, and used it constructively towards improving work. But I imagine a lot of students in the first and second year, students that have come straight from school, they're in like 18, 19. I imagine they don't take it particularly seriously. I always say that I should have taken a couple of years out before coming to university, as I would have worked harder in my first year, particularly. My second and third were okay, but yeah.
Can I just ask you the same question again? Could you explicitly say, not as much as I could have, kind of say this statement, but more explicitly so people will know without the question that I asked?
Okay.
So,
yeah.
The feedback on your final work, did you use it and how?
I guess, like, I didn't use it as much as it could have been used. Like, I didn't use it that much in regards to, like, constructively improving work until towards the end of university, around my dissertation time, things like that. I got good marks in the second year, so I was always happy with the feedback I got, so I never particularly had to use it for anything else. But in the first year, I could have definitely used it more constructively than I did.
And how would you have used it if you kind of looking back on the first year? What would you have taken from feedback and how to use it? If you can give some examples.
I don't know. I guess maybe to a certain extent, if I was a more organised person who did charts and things like that, but I don't own highlighters and lined paper, you know. But if I was one of them people, I could, you know, make some sort of graph in regards, like the criticisms, you know, put them into some sort of categories, and you know, look upon like work in the future and see if I've, you know, successfully avoided the mistakes I was, you know, doing before.
Good. Okay. So, well, talking about feedback that you received from your tutors, was it mainly useful, or what was it sometimes not?
Yeah, I mean, I always found feedback quite useful, I think. Like I say, particularly during my dissertation. And I had 2 dissertation supervisors, because the first one I had went on maternity leave halfway through the period, but yeah, they were both very good. Yeah, definitely.
I think I can't remember if I asked that question about feedback from tutors or peers. What is more useful?
Well, I suppose they're both.
Can we just delete
Yeah,
the little printer?
no worries. I got a lot of good feedback from tutors, not about work, like academically, but you're just talking about kind of just like work particularly, aren't you? Like, I got a lot of good advice from tutors, is what I mean, like just in regards to other things, just work and stuff. I don't know.
Where did, like, for example, if you gave your assignment to peers and tutors, which feedback you used more or like listened to?
I guess in the long run, tutors, because I guess I can trust their opinion more, like objectively, whereas, you know, peers are in the same kind of position as you, so it's harder to look at from like a higher perspective. But there's definitely certain like good friends and people who, you know, I trust to give me kind of, you know, good advice about work. I would, you know, happily show it to them as well and take their advice.
Okay. If you could look back at the types of feedback you received from your tutors, you said it mainly was written, sometimes verbal. How do you think they could have improved feedback to make it even more useful?
I don't know. I think one thing in particular would be doing it typed rather than handwritten, because most tutors' handwriting is worse than a doctor's handwriting, so it makes it really hard to like figure out what they're trying to say, and more detailed maybe sometimes. But again, you know, that's hard when you've got, you know, 100 students handing in essays, and you know, so yeah, that'd be my main criticism. Do it typed rather than handwritten. I think it'd be easier for them as well, but I don't know.
Okay, and the last question is, we have a statement which is feedback is. Could you continue the sentence with an adjective? My hand?
Yeah.
My hand? I really yeah.
In the first.
Okay, I'm not cut it out anyway. Okay. Do it. Anyway, so the last question, or more of a statement, is I don't understand how it's back in the frame. It's here.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so the last statement is feedback is. Could you use an adjective which indicates the meaning of feedback and continue the statement? So, for example, feedback is green, feedback is blue, feedback is.
Can I just say feedback is green? Is that okay? Yeah. Feedback is green. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's fully green.
Yeah, I think it's very green. Like when somebody says feedback, I just see grass and beautiful trees and, well, only the leaves, of course. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's being serious.
No, that's my serious answer. Genuinely.
Well, if you think of like an adjective that tells kind of synonym to, I don't want to say useful because we just want to repeat it.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. Constructive, I guess. Yeah, to a certain extent.
Okay, yeah, so feedback is.
Feedback is constructive.
Shall we do it again?
And green,
Okay.
yeah.
Shall we do it again? Because
Sorry.
you didn't hear this question.
Sorry. Yeah, feedback is. I was going to say green again. So feedback is constructive.
And green.
Green.
Okay. So good?
Yeah.
Alright. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.